Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. This is your daily news. So I want to start with this, the earthquake in Turkey. I was just checking yesterday and the death toll is around 3,000. I'm literally just checking now and it's at 7,000. So I don't really have anything positive to say about other than I hope, people are safe. My wife was seeing on the news here in Korea that they might have a projection of like 20,000. So it's actually really serious. It was a very large earthquake and, thoughts and prayers go out and hope for the best. I haven't mentioned this, for a while either, but yes, I'm well aware there's a war in Ukraine. I guess they were saying that this was the deadliest day in 24 hours for Russian troops. So, they're still fighting, essentially, is what we're saying here. And my wife was reading something. I always mention my wife because, we read things together, but she was saying something like there was a report that Russian soldiers are using drugs and stuff and things. And I wouldn't be shocked at this kind of stuff. I'm sure morale is very low and there's no reason to be fighting your neighbors. So, hopefully this ends soon. And, I want to mention these things because I think it's important to understand what's going on around the world. Now, in terms of markets, Fed Jerome Powell was speaking at this, like the Economic Club. And before, this is publicly, and before he was speaking, the markets were taking a dive, sort of like, worried. And then he came out and spoke and it was a little bit more dovish, supposedly. I say supposedly because you got to read the actual language. The thing is that he keeps saying the same thing, is that they're, data dependent. They're going to watch the numbers. And in fact, if jobs remain strong, they may have to keep rates elevated. They keep saying as well that, rates are going to stay up for the rest of the year. I don't expect that to change. I don't know, the markets be weird in my opinion, but everyone's going to have a different opinion on that. If you actually look at what Powell says, and we'll go through this. So this is the meeting with Jerome Powell. They're talking about inflation here. The process of bringing inflation down to Fed's goal of 2% over time, a quote, is likely to take quite a bit of time. It's not going to be, we don't think, smooth. It's probably going to be bumpy. This is from Federal Jerome Powell. So we think we're going to have to do further, talking about rate increases, and we think we'll have to hold policy at a restrictive level for some time. So, that's literally what he's saying. And it's weird that the markets are like, oh yeah, that's good news. But on a bull case scenario, the good news would be that inflation is coming down and they're going to get it under control. That would be the bull case. The bear case would be, well, jobs still remain strong and that's going to keep inflation elevated. And essentially also too that, and it depends how you want to look at it, Powell's basically saying, hey, we need to get, more people fired. Evidently, they were projecting 4.6 unemployment. We're currently sitting at 3.4. With that said, do understand that unemployment, the way they count the numbers, let's say, for example, you were fired from Goldman Sachs and then you got a job at Chipotle. Yes, you are employed, so you're being counted as being employed, but it's not like necessarily the job that you want, and it doesn't necessarily, give the lifestyle that you want. So do be aware of that. So yes, unemployment may be low, but with the cost of everything and sort of where the jobs are, as we noticed last time the jobs report, many of the jobs were essentially like in the service sector, like restaurants and stuff like that. So I am watching these things because, for example, this was just news today. Zoom is laying off people, 15%. Of their employees. And it was crazy because, like, if you remember during the pandemic, like Zoom was all the rage. I was all about Zoom. We all were using Zoom. And I remember a true story. It was before the pandemic. It was like 2019. And I was doing some Zooms for some calls. And I was like, tell my wife, oh my God, this company is amazing. Look at this technology. And it's funny like that. And then I just didn't predict it was going to be like crazy amazing in terms of pandemic. But I am saying that I was aware that Zoom did exist. Evidently, Zoom, this is according to the CEO, they had 2,500 employees in 2020. And then as of recently, they had 6,800 employees. So they like tripled their size. So really quite a lot. And this is a quote from Zoom, the CEO, Mr. Yuan. He's saying here, we didn't take as much time as we should have to thoroughly analyze our teams or assets, if we were growing sustainably toward the highest priorities. I am accountable for these mistakes. And here's the thing that's really interesting. So evidently, I guess it's saying he's going to take a pay cut by 98%. Is this what it says here? His salary for the coming fiscal year by 98%, reducing his salary, which is pretty crazy. So basically, he's taking a full pay cut and, foregoing bonuses. And then everyone on the executive team is reducing their base salary by 20%. So, I think this is the way you're going to do it. If indeed that you have to let go of some employees, like you feel the pain too. If you're letting go employees and you're getting a bonus because your stock is going up because you're cutting costs, it looks a little bit callous, I guess is a good way to say it. So I kudos to taking the pay cut and being part of the team, not just above the team. I think that's a good way to say it. Over at Meta, they're doing these kind of things as well. Again, this is all about cutting costs. This is an interesting one. So basically, they're telling managers that you need to essentially be doing a task, not just managing people. So you need to be a coder. You need to create something or leave. Essentially, how they headline or they say make it or leave. But this is going to be something that I think we're going to see in a lot of companies to where essentially they're trying to streamline. Now, one of the negatives is that essentially companies are expected to do more work. I think that's a real thing. And also, too, they may not necessarily pay you as much as you want. And so I understand when some people out there who are a little bit more on the mean side, but I get it, that some companies, overhired. So Zoom is an example, they overhired and that, they got to trim the fat. So that part I get. But I also want to talk about it several times in this channel, and I've been talking about all since last year, that regardless of what the numbers say in the market or regardless of the numbers say GDP, if you're out of a job, right, you're in a recession. So always be prepared for these kind of things. This always say, be prepared in your network. Always be in contact with people that you know and understand what the job market is doing in your industry, these kind of things, and keep upgrading your skills every single year. Upgrade your skills every single day. Upgrade your skills, and hopefully that's by watching your channel you stay informed, which is part of that. Just sort of getting used to using your muscles, your mental muscles, that is, to keep abreast of what's happening in the world. This is another example of a slowdown and changes. Evidently, a lot of these companies, these are real estate companies, were buying homes up. I'm sure you guys know this, like a Zillow, that kind of stuff. And now they're stuck with all this inventory that they can't sell. I laugh, but it's not funny to them, of course. There was one company here I hadn't heard of. It was called Ribbon. If you guys know Ribbon, please let me know. But they were saying they had to fire 85% of their staff. It was a smaller company, so like 170 employees. And then Open Door was firing 18% of the staff. So, many of these industries that are really hurt heavily by rising interest rates are letting go of staff. That's quite a bit, right? 18%, and Zoom is letting go of people. And so this is why I just want to reiterate over and over again, have the job skills. And, someone was mentioning before, I gave an example where coding skills, for example. And if you're let go of, say, like a Google or Meta, where else could you go? And I just mentioned, like, there are opportunities in more legacy industries. Like, for example, the airlines, they need people to come in and like fix all their computer systems, and the same way with insurance companies as well. It may not sound as sexy as something like Meta, but it does put food on the table. And for people who do work in these industries, they'd probably make the case. In fact, Chris, you're totally wrong. It is sexy. Get on board. And, speaking of sexy, one thing I would say is the AI thing, in my opinion, is real, is legit. So, going back into the last couple of years with the whole crypto and the NFT stuff, I was never, like, oh my God, you guys got to buy Dogecoin. I was just never that person. I was like, okay, why are we buying dogs with coins on it again, or coins with dogs, or whatever? And however, AI was something I've said all along that I think is the future, because I think automation and AI, we can all see it coming. So I don't think that was a shock. And I think I am shocked, though, just how quickly and how much hype it is. So I knew it was always coming, but not necessarily this fast. The other thing is, too, is that I guess the Middle East is trying to dump money into this stuff. It was like $10 billion from Abu Dhabi, the royal. So I think with any of these kind of things, when there's opportunity, jump on board while the money's there. But I don't think this is a fad. I really don't, because you're looking at major companies are investing in this stuff. So, for example, this is Baidu. If you know Baidu, it's basically Google in China. Everyone uses Baidu to search for things, and they're doing a chat GPT thing also. So I guess they're going to call it Ernie Bot, like literally like Bert and Ernie kind of thing. And we'll see. Now, the thing with Baidu, the stock has been surging. I've been seeing that. And some of the risks on this one is among all of the Chinese companies, this one would have the closest ties to the Chinese military among the ones that Americans trade. So just do be aware of that. And this is something that, we've been talking about the U.S.-China relations. Like, for example, they were releasing some photos recently. This is of the U.S. Navy was recovering the spy satellite, or not satellite, the spy balloon thing. I can't even say balloon's not even in my lexicon, because it's so bizarre that we have to worry about spy balloons these days. But this is interesting. I thought it might be a bigger issue than it was, or is, I should say. So far, it's just a war of words at the moment. China is evidently sort of letting people who are critics of the USA, express their concerns online, which is something that the free speech in China is not a thing. So whenever they want to just turn on the sensors and basically mute everybody, they can. But when terms to regarding criticizing the USA, China's all on board on that. And this is something the Chinese government has always done, to where they always want to deflect to, get people to be angry at Japan, get people to be angry at Korea, be angry at USA, be angry at anyone else except the Chinese government. And if you are angry at the Chinese government, just pretend like it doesn't happen and try to hide it from the media. So we'll see what happens to this thing. I myself am not too concerned about spy balloons, but I do really get it. I mean, I do really get it. You don't necessarily want a potentially hostile, thing flying over your military bases. I totally get that, and I would totally shoot it down. So I get that. So anyway, let's move on to that, though. But I just want to mention the Baidu thing, that more companies are getting on board. It was interesting because Microsoft, they just announced that they're going to be having Bing use AI more. They're calling it a new day in search. And I read a review of this thing, and it doesn't really sound anything, how can I say, different than what we already have, be it your assistants on your phone. But I think that the difference with this is going to be on your desktop. It's going to be something that's going to work probably faster than your phone, because your connections will be better on your computer, and it may give you more details. Because right now the AI assistants on your phone don't give you like a ton of details, and also too, it's really fascinating, which I think is really cool for the future of these kind of things, is that they speak to you like a human. So be that good or bad, it's like, for example, when I search on something on Google now, it kind of gives you an answer, and then gives you a list of websites to click on. You guys know how Google works. But the idea of like these AI searches, it's sort of like you ask it a question and it answers like a human. That's kind of the idea. Let's read a quote here from Satya Nadella, the CEO over at Microsoft. He's saying, "We are grounded in the fact that Google dominates this." Talking about the search space, and in fact, Google has 93% of the search space, so they really do dominate. A new race is starting with a completely new platform technology. I'm excited for users to have a choice finally. And full disclosure, I have used Bing in the past. This is the main reason why I'll tell you. They used to give free burritos. I'm not making it up. I used to get free burritos at Chipotle just from using Bing. And so every now and then I would just, use Bing and answer the survey questions that they had and get free burritos. So it was always kind of a funny thing to do. And it was really easy. I can't remember. I want to say I got like a free burrito a week, I want to say. I don't know if it was like twice a week, but I want to say it was a free burrito a week. So it was funny because I'd always wonder, like, how bad is your company, Bing, service, if you have to literally pay people to use it? So evidently, I guess the investments in getting me to use it in burritos paid off, because now they're expanding into AI or whatever. So it's pretty funny. But this is sort of what it's going to look like. This is at least one iteration of the new Bing, and I guess they're releasing it for people to use. Lastly, I guess Biden's going to be doing his State of the Union address. And then early preview is saying basically tax the rich, help the poor, and unemployment is all about me. So I always laugh about these kind of things. You have a sense of humor about it. I think the unemployment numbers you really want to look at more carefully. And from a political point of view, I think any politician would say absolutely, unemployment numbers are low, everything is great. But again, from your own particular point of view, if you lost your job, say at Goldman, and you're working at Chipotle, I don't think things are so great. And for anyone out there, I would say always be upgrading your skills. In this particular time, though, I think getting into AI is not crazy. So I would be looking for jobs and taking advantage. Someone had asked earlier in a comment of like, if I can leave my job for, Chat GPT, should you do it? And everyone had lots of responses, and, you got to do what you got to do. But I just think that this is not a fad. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. I think so. A few people in the community do think AI is a fad. I personally don't. I just think this is something that's going to be around for a while. So do appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.